Creative Brain Candy by creators for creators.
You're listening to Simply Stogies, a monthly podcast dedicated to the cigar enthusiast. Light up a stogie, sit back and relax while James brings you along on his journey as a new cigar smoker. Simply Stogies will review cigars, discuss topics that cigar aficionados find important, and will probably learn a few things along the way. Now, here's your host of Simply Stogies, James.
Welcome to Simply Stogies. I am your host, James. This week, I am in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Milwaukee, which is Algonquin for the good land, according to Alice Cooper from the movie Wayne's World. And I'm here with Joe from 5ociety Cigar Society. Joe, welcome to the program.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming up, doing this. I know we're both in town for the Brew City Cigar Fest, so we're excited about that. But before we talk to Joe, I'd like to invite you to go to creativebraincandy.com and check out the great family of podcasts we have there, including the podcast Eyes Forward March. Sergeant Cigar and Sergeant Bacon take you through the world of non-commissioned officers in the military. They talk to you about all of the things that you need to know and transitioning out of military into civilian service. Check them out, Eyes Forward March. They do it in a great, fun way. Only on creativebraincandy.com and wherever podcasts are sold, which is about everywhere, and it's free, so it's not really sold. Check them out and check out the great family of podcasts we have at creativebraincandy.com while you're there. And while you're on the interwebs, if you're looking for cigars, go to oxfordcigarcompany.com. Lucas there has given our listeners and our viewers a great deal. Put in coupon code Simply Stogies and get 10% off your next purchase. oxfordcigar.com, oxfordcigarcompany.com. So thank you to Lucas for doing that. And I think that's it. I think that's all of the housekeeping, all the shilling that I've got to do today. Joe, welcome to the program.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
So Joe had me on a month, 2 months ago on 5ociety Cigar Society on their Instagram. They do an Instagram live. How often do you guys do that?
So we try to do it at the bare minimum twice a week. But typically we've been doing about 3 a week. And I think that's kind of a sweet spot, I think, for time consideration and trying to book as many people in a time frame as possible.
So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the booking process, how you get your guests, how Jeff Gaston fits into it. Great dude. You can check that episode out when I interviewed him at Capitol. And we're actually at Prime Cigars in Milwaukee. Great spot owned by Johnny Piet from Isabella. He actually owns 3 lounges here in the area. I didn't know that. But this is a cool little spot. Great humidor with a lot of boutique stuff. And we're going to talk about boutique. We're going to talk about cigars. But I want to start where every story starts, and that's at the beginning. Joe, how did you start smoking cigars?
So I think for a lot of guys, at least, I turned 18 and was able to finally, go to a store and, buy a cigar for the very first time. And also go to a gentleman's establishment at the same time. So
I know what you mean by that.
Yeah. So my 18th birthday, my best friend since we were 9, we both turned 18 at the same time. His birthday is 7 days after mine. So went to go do that and planned a night out and went and got some stogies. Went to the Gentleman's Club, had a good time. That was really the very first time I had a premium cigar, if you will.
Do you remember, as I fuck my way through lighting this Pastani Habano, do you remember what the first cigar was you smoked?
Oh, God, no. It was probably, if I had to take a guess, I don't think it was anything too high end. I think my father, it was my father, but I could not tell you which one. That would be my absolute best guess, though.
Okay. And was it love at first puff, or was it just like, I kind of get what people...
To tell you the truth, I don't think we even finished it because, we were a little more entertained by other things at that point.
That's a very diplomatic way of putting it.
Yeah.
So you told me, we talked a little bit beforehand, you told me that you've been smoking now for 14 years.
Yep.
So 14 years smoking, but it's been off and on.
Yes. Yep.
What made you immerse yourself?
So off and on, I would say from 18, I would, grab a stogie every once in a while, just because for the fun of it. Whenever we'd get together with a bunch of the guys and go play poker, get a stogie, poker and stogie. That was what we did for, occasionally. And that, to me, I think that's the definition of a hobby, something you do occasionally. It's not a lifestyle, which is what I think I grew into at this point. And my real immersion into the cigar lifestyle was going to Punta Cana. So we took a trip to Punta Cana, me and some family members and some family friends. We all went to Punta Cana, and we get there. We're all excited. We get to the hotel, and we're getting everything checked in, and get checked in, and we go walking towards our rooms, and in between the concierge and our rooms was a kiosk where they sold cigars. And we're walking past, and the guy goes, "Oh, do you smoke cigars?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, every once in a while." And he goes, "Here, my friend, I've got a cigar for you, and just give it to me." I'm like, "Well, how much is it?" I'm like, he says, "It's free. This one's free." I'm like, okay.
It sounds like a crack dealer.
Pretty much. And that's what it grew into.
Like, here, the first taste is free because I know you'll come back for more.
100% true. And that's exactly what happened, because I went to the hotel room with my new cigar that he lit, cut, did it all, like all the stuff that you had to do to give me the cigar and me to start smoking it from that point to my hotel room. Hooked me. And I set my stuff down, went right back, and bought a box of the Maduro 5s.
Cohiba Maduro 5.
Yep.
Wait, so Cuban?
Yep. In Punta Cana.
In Punta Cana.
Yep.
Did it have a glass?
No.
I'm just making sure.
So no.
Okay.
And that was one of the things that I knew enough to be dangerous.
Right.
But not as much as I know at this point. And so I knew the glass thing was one of the telltale signs. So came in a Maduro 5 box. I'm like, okay, well, this is enough to put me at ease, at least for a little bit. And so went and got it. And the craziest sales tactic I think I've ever seen in my entire life was he goes, "Here you go. Here's the box." I'm like, I got to go back to the room and, get my wallet and everything so I can pay for it. He goes, "Oh, no. Just take the box. Come back, pay me later."
What?
Exactly. Now, I've been in sales my entire adult life. I have never once heard that in any kind of sales strategy book, sales training course.
No, that's a drug dealer tactic.
Exactly. Yep. Here, I know you'll be back.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy, but you were hooked.
Hook,
the
line,
Maduro
and sinker.
5, this is love at first puff.
That was the love at first puff right there.
Was that your first Cuban?
Yes.
So that's
Very
what it
first
was.
Cuban.
Wow.
Yep.
So do you still smoke Cubans? I think that's what the next question is.
So, yes, I do still smoke Cubans, but it's not a point of emphasis. I have come to the realization that it does not have to be a Cuban for it to be a good cigar. And I've had, since that experience, a great variety of different cigars from all over different places, different price points. And it was explained to me on one of our lives that, it's kind of like a fine wine where you don't have to buy the most expensive bottle for it to be a good cigar. And you also don't have to buy it from a certain region in the world for it to be a good wine either.
So you've already talked about a lot of stuff. You've touched on a lot of things that I want to kind of talk about with you, because it's fun for me to sit down with a fellow content creator in the same space that I'm in and figure out like how you got to where you are now, what your vision is for the future, and kind of how you view the industry and the hobby. And you've said for some it's a hobby and for others it's a lifestyle. And we had this conversation, Tim and I did on one of the more recent Cigars and Coffee on YouTube, youtube.com/I think Simply Stogies podcast. And you can check those out. But what's the difference between the cigar hobby and the cigar lifestyle?
I think the hobby, like I said, that's something like I was doing for, almost a decade. Well, actually, more than a decade. I would get one occasionally. I had my friends around. We're playing poker. Like, there was another event associated with smoking a stogie, and I didn't have to have something big going on for it to turn in. Well, at the lifestyle point, there doesn't have to be some big event going on now. Like, I'll have a cigar because I want to have a cigar, not because there's another event going on with it.
So for you, the hobby is distinguished in the frequency in which you smoke.
I would say so. I mean, as a hobby, I think it's more associated with an occasional thing. Whereas the lifestyle, it's exactly what it says. It's a lifestyle. You live your life doing something that you are passionate about, that you enjoy doing in your life, to, bring it all together for you, I guess.
Okay. And I guess that makes sense to a point. But for me, a lifestyle is like you immerse yourself in. Mm-hmm. It's not so much a frequency as it is, I want to know everything there is to know about it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I will never be the guy that has to figure every single thing out about where the wrapper's from, where's the binder from.
See, I'm not that guy either. So you don't get into the weeds either.
I don't think I could, just for the fact of how many different cigars there are, where the different regions are from. I mean, you've got tobacco coming from all parts of the earth. For me, I do this because I enjoy smoking the cigar. I enjoy a lot of the things that come along with smoking the cigar. I enjoy the people, the camaraderie that I find with other cigar smokers. That's the enjoyment part for me. I mean, yeah, it would probably be cool to know, okay, this cigar has this binder and sound cool, I guess. But for me, that's not the enjoyment part. The enjoyment part is the pleasures that come along with the cigar smoking.
Like, I find myself being a sucker for like a Sumatra wrapper. So I'm always looking for those, but I don't necessarily care about the region or the farm or.
Well, sure. And if you find a good cigar that you like, I think that's the first start, right? That's first step, right? So you find a cigar that you really, really, really like. You want to know more about that particular cigar. And that is the part that I can understand and I can get into, where I find the cigar first. I figure out what's in that cigar that I like about it. And then I go and branch out into other cigars that might have some of the similar characteristics that one cigar does, to find out, okay, I like this from this region, and I like it with this wrapper, after I've figured out what cigar that I like.
That makes sense. Let's go back to the Cubans for just a second. Do you still smoke Cubans?
Sure, absolutely.
Do you find there's a big difference between quality between Cubans and non-Cubans?
That's kind of a loaded question, I think. Because you can have bad Cubans, too.
You have bad non-Cubans.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, not every cigar is...
It's a hand-rolled product, handmade, for sure. Are they still your favorites? Are the Cuban Maduro 5 still your favorite?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
That was how many years ago?
About a year ago at this point.
So it was a year ago that you really started to immerse yourself into it. All right. So you're still, because we talked about this a little bit. We were in the humidor here at Prime Cigars.
Yep.
And we talked about it a little bit. And you were telling me, that you're still on CBID.
Yep.
You're still doing that. How many boutiques have you had? Because the humidor here at Prime has a ton of boutique cigars.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and so I guess I'm going to segue a little bit, but I think that's where the industry of cigars is, in my opinion, is heading, is more of that boutique brand, because you're always going to have your mainstream. You're going to have your Fuentes. You're going to have your Perdermos. The Padrones. Those types are going to be there. In my opinion, I think they're going to be there forever just because they're so well known. But for me, finding something unique that isn't going to be in every single humidor is fun for me. That's the unicorn, I think, for me. And it doesn't have to be an expensive cigar for it to be a unicorn for me. I mean, you can find really good cigars. Like I was saying, you can find a good cigar for under $10 all the time.
Are you a value hunter when it comes to cigars? Are you looking for the best bang for your buck, or are you just looking for the best cigar experience you can find in that humidor at that moment?
I would say 90% of the time, yes. There is that other 10% where if I've seen other people reviewing it, the people that I talk to on a consistent basis, they're saying that this is a good stick. I will most likely, and if it costs a little bit more, I'll probably pick one up just to try it. But yeah, 90% of the time, I think I'm in that value range. And I was talking about this with Belladama Cigars with Chantel. I think $10 is like the price range that like your average consumer will be like, okay, $10 a stick, cool. You start getting into the $15, $16 range. That's where people are like, maybe not. And so that's where I think a lot of people sit, for at least in my opinion.
So where do you sit? Is that where you sit? Is right in that $10 range where you really like to?
I would say $10 is a good area for me, but going up isn't also something that I'm afraid of doing either.
So for example, you're drinking Weller right now. You said it's really good. Cohiba just came out with a cigar around that bourbon, right?
Yep.
Around that whiskey. That's a $50 cigar and some B&Ms.
I already bought a box.
You bought a box.
The day that I heard that it was coming out, I already had in my head I'm buying a box.
Because you like whiskey, you like to drink. Mm-hmm. I wish I could.
I'm in Wisconsin.
Yeah, you're in Wisconsin.
We drink Wisconsin over here.
Is that what you guys say up here?
Oh, we have it that written on shirts.
No kidding.
Oh yes.
That's funny. I like that. So you bought a box, but you bought it just because of the Weller connection.
I think so. Yeah.
Because isn't it aged in the Weller cask?
Yeah, I think that was a big component of it. And it's something new, and like I said, that uniqueness I think is what brought me to it. And another Cohiba stick that's a $30 stick, the M series,
the Serie M. Yeah.
Bought a box of those. Actually, I take that back. I've bought in 3 boxes.
Okay,
of those.
So I'm not going to say that it's not a good stick because I've had one. The gentleman Andy from the Cedar Room in Scottsdale gifted me one. He's like, "Smoke it. Tell me what you think." And it was a good cigar, but is it $30 good?
I think that's in the eye of the beholder.
Is it $30 good for you? Because here's
for
the
me,
thing.
Yes.
There are other $30 cigars on the market that I think are astronomically better. For me, that's a $15 cigar.
Sure. And I think that's another great thing about cigars is one person's trash is another person's treasure. And one person's okay is another person's amazing.
Right.
So I think that's really cool. And that's another thing that I love about cigars is that every single person, no matter if you get the same cigar from the same box in the same humidor, if you take that cigar home and put it in your humidor, and, Doug, another, my brother from another mother here at the Evil Empire Cigar Society, he puts it in his humidor. Those conditions are different. So the same cigar in the same box from the same humidor, taken out into somebody else's humidor, can change that cigar. And he can have a different experience than I can from that same box.
And that kind of segues into community. And I want to talk about community a lot because that's what you do. You're on Instagram. It's at Evil Empire Cigar Society, but Empire is with a 3 at the beginning and Society's with a 5. So it's kind of leet speak for those of you who are familiar with that. And that I think that's kind of a nod to your background in IT, which I dig. I like that a lot. But you guys put this stuff out on Instagram. You have an Instagram live show. Like you said, you're doing like 3 a week. How did you, like, what was your vision for that? Was it all community driven? Was it like, we want to be involved in the community and this is how we're going to do it? Like, how did you come up with this idea to do the Instagram live show?
So we actually started this whole thing without even knowing there was a community. This entire thing started with a group of friends at our local lounge in Appleton, Appleton Cigar and Souvenir, right on College Avenue, Wisconsin. We started playing poker. We had poker nights every Thursday. It was just a couple guys that I've known for a long time, playing poker, and we had poker nights. And one of our other brothers, Dan, started talking about the Ruffians, the Distinguished Ruffians, and they had patches, and we're a bunch of bikers, so patches are right up our alley. And that's kind of what intrigued us a little bit. And I'm like, you know what? Why don't we just make our own group? And it doesn't have to be anything huge. We'll just, it's something local. It was never meant to be what it is today. And we just kind of stumbled into it. There was, we started posting different pictures on Instagram, and people started liking them. I'm like, I actually have something here. So we did that for a little bit, and it was never meant to be something that grew into anything. It was just supposed to be for fun, to play poker, just our small group of friends, and that was it. And
now it's the community. So would you say the community drove you to what you're doing?
100%. Absolutely, 100%. We started doing it, and people started, being more involved in our page. And I saw a lot of other groups, clubs, societies. I'm like, there's other people out there doing really cool things that would be cool to be a part of. And Nick from Hard Ash was one of the very first people to reach out and said, hey, I'm here for, whatever advice you need. If you need something, let me know. And I'm like, that's awesome. I've never met this man before in my life. He reached out to me, said he'd help me, with whatever questions that I had. And that's what really brought me into the community, is just the absolute willingness to give. And I think that's exactly what the cigar community is right now, at least. And it's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen.
It really is. The cigar community, and I've said this before, is for the most part some of the most giving people on the planet, men and women alike. They want you to share in their experience. They want you to share in their love of the leaf, so to speak. So you kind of stumbled into this, which is a great story, because for me, I've said this before on the show, I'm kind of like, where I live, I'm on an island. There is no cigar lounge. The nearest cigar lounge for me is an hour and a half away. And that's a fairly recent development, like beginning of last year. Before that, it was 2 hours away in Des Moines. I think Des Moines has like 5 different lounges. So the only community that I was aware of was the online community. And you get into some of these communities that kind of sprouted off of our cigars, the Reddit. So everything for me was online. And those communities are great, but they're very self-contained. And you guys are out there on Instagram, so you don't have like members. It's just, you find our page, come hang out. Like, we do these lives all the time now, and we put it out there for people. Like, so when you're trying to create content, at first you were creating content that you guys liked and what you put out, and then you started to see this big following. Has that changed, or are you still just putting content out that you like, or are you trying to tailor it a little bit more for your ever-growing community?
So, first of all, the point that we're not a club, right? We don't have members. You don't have to do the hokey pokey and turn yourself about to be a part of us. Okay. You don't have to make 10 posts and then follow, whatever.
Right. There's no
people.
Verification trades. There's no, like you said, you got to follow all these rules. It's just, you follow our page and you have access to all of our content.
We are a society, And if you would like to be a part of the society, you just, support the community. That's what our entire society has evolved into, is a support for smoking cigars, and that's it. Our entire goal is to help grow the community as a whole. One of my favorite hashtags and quotes that we use is "Together in Success." Everything that we do is for the good of the community, because at the end of the day, if the community grows, we're going to grow with it.
Right. So it's you really follow the idea of a rising tide raises all ships, which I think the cigar industry as a whole really needs to examine that and kind of come together, because there's a lot of division in that. And even in the community, there's some division. And I hate to see that.
100%. I mean, there's a whole different segment, I guess, of the cigar culture that I think you're right, has to look at the good parts of the cigar culture, I guess, and figure out why it's doing well and why people like it. There's a lot of cigar companies that do it really, really well. And then there's a lot of them that it feels like they're not listening to the consumer.
I would agree. And for the manufacturer side who feels like they're not being heard from certain segments, from like, for example, the retail side not being heard, the retail feels like they're not being heard from the manufacturer side, and everyone just kind of, well, this is the way we're going to do it because this is the way we've always done it. And so this is why I really like what you guys do, because you're on the cutting edge. You're doing Instagram lives. Like, I hate to be on camera to begin with, so I just do the YouTube thing, so I only have to look at it once and put it up, and I never have to look at it again. I have a face for radio, as they say. But you guys put yourselves out there several times a week, and you're like, you bring everybody together and you talk about, you really focus on because I was on, and you focus on what we do and what I do and what Simply Stogies is all about. So what are you guys all about? Like, how do you find who you bring on? Is it just you reach out to people and say, hey, we want to have you on?
Essentially, yeah. I mean, I come from like I said, a sales background, and it's more of a business to business model. So my comfort level is 100% okay with just reaching out, talking to people, saying, hey, we have this going on. Do you want to be a part of it? If you don't, my feelings aren't going to get hurt. The worst you can say to me is no.
Have you had anybody say no yet? Like, you don't have to tell me who, but like, has anybody just said, I don't want to do that?
So I've had a couple people say they just don't want to, or they don't need to. I've had people say and this has actually happened a couple times, where people are just in the very beginning stages of what they're doing, and it's just not the right time. Completely get that too. But most of the time, it's pretty positive, in a positive engagement, where I just say, hey, want to be a part of it? And they say, yeah, absolutely. When?
That's awesome. Every community has their good parts, the stuff that we like to highlight, but every community also has their seedier, darker side.
100%.
And if you follow 5ociety Cigar Society on Instagram, you've seen some of those posts recently where there's somebody in the community who's been trying to take advantage of people. I think you guys are handling that all right. Was that?
So for me, when I am passionate about something, I will do whatever I can to help improve it. I'm very, very passionate about the cigar community, and that's our focus as our society. And when it is being messed with, I guess, or being taken advantage of,
right?
I think I take it personally, because it's something that I have a strong passion for, and Nick from Hard Ash and I have talked about this. When it's taken advantage of, we take it personally, and we're not gonna tolerate it, I guess is the best way, because for something that I take really, really seriously, to, like I said, be taken advantage of, we're not going to stand for it.
So I want to talk about the Instagram space and the influencer space and that kind of stuff. But I also want to talk about sponsorships, because it's a weird thing, especially because you're of the same mind that I am. And that's, rising tide raises all ships. I don't do this to make money. I do this because I'm passionate about cigars. I do this because I'm passionate about the community. I do this because I'm passionate about the lifestyle. Same as you. So you hooked up with, because it was just you and Doug, right? Who started it, or was there was a third?
So Dan is also one of our founding members, and he's got a family at home. So this is not something that is easy to do.
No.
When you have a family, and I have a 6-year-old myself, so I totally get it. So sometimes there's just time constraints that don't allow for him able to come on with us all the time, but he makes it whenever he can. So whenever he's able to, and my brother as well. So my brother is he is a bartender, and he works usually at that same time that we're going on. So it's hard for him to make all of them too. So
you're the main guy, but you have other hosts.
Yep.
And then you hooked up with Jeff Gaston from Gaston Cigars. By the way, gstncigar.com, 10% off. Use code Simply Stogies. Great dude. I had him on the podcast a few episodes ago. You can go check that out. But he also guest hosts with you on occasion.
Yeah. So when I'm by myself, I always like to have another person on with me, just because it's more fun. But one day I'm like, I really enjoy spending time talking with Jeff. Why not ask him if he wants to come on and host with me? He's a good dude. He's been in the podcasting space before, so he knows how to speak. Yeah, exactly. And he is hilarious. I love I love hanging out and talking with him, because he's one of the funniest dudes out there. So Instagram space, like I said, it's a weird space with the influencers. What are your thoughts on influencers as a whole? Because you interact with them, I interact with them. We kind of have to, because we do post a lot of content on Instagram, right? And that's where you post all of your content. For you, it's all on Instagram. So you end up interacting with them. Like, what are your thoughts on that, on the influencer space? Because there's a lot of, I don't want to say negative or negativity around the influencers, but there's a lot of negativity around influencers. So I think it's still a positive, because, that's what we're trying to do right now, is expose people to things that they otherwise might not have been exposed to. We're trying to bring as many boutique cigars on to our channel as we can, because they're not in every single humidor across the country, and some of them are regional. So we want to expose people to good cigars, whether you're in California or you're in North Carolina or somewhere in the middle. So I think influencers have the ability to also do that exact same thing, which is good for the community as a whole. So I think there is a positive aspect about it. There's also, I think, a negative aspect about it. And I won't get into too far into that, but I think there is a place for that. Yeah, we're painting with a broad brush here. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, not anyone or anything specific, but I think you're right. I think there's a spot for it. There's a place for it. And the PCA this year actually had more influencers there than they ever had before. And I don't know if that was by design or accident, but that can only help, right? And to my point, I think that's exactly the right place for somebody that has a larger following to go to and expose their followers to a bunch of different things all at the same time, because you're at these different events and you're walking around and there's 8 booths around you. You can expose every one of your followers to all of those booths in 5 minutes. I think that's great.
How much of the negativity around influencers, because I would, at the risk of sounding like an asshole, you're an influencer. You're an Instagram influencer. Do you see yourself as such?
I think that I would never call myself an influencer.
Okay, why not?
Because I think that would be... I think that kind of label is meant to be said by others.
Do you think that label, influencer, has a negative connotation to it, and it has that negative connotation to it out of jealousy? Like, oh my God, this person has so many followers and I only have this. They're an influencer and I'm not, and I don't like what they do because XYZ.
I might be the complete wrong person to ask that question to, for the fact that my whole mindset is I take care of myself. That's what I worry about. My day-to-day, everything that I do throughout the day, I'm not worried about anybody else other than myself and the people I care about. If it's outside of that bubble, I'll pay attention to it. But I'm also not going to let it stress myself out.
Yep.
Because I'm going to worry about the things that I can control, and the things that I can't control are going to happen regardless of if I'm stressed out about it or not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Talking to Johnny Piet last night from Isabella at Famous on Brady, which he owns that spot as well as Prime, and there's another famous shop here that he owns. We had that conversation. He's like, you know what? You can't ever talk negative about somebody. You can just keep your head down and do what you do, and good things will come. And so I think you're absolutely right. I think you hit the nail on the head. But community, the cigar community, for the most part, has always been, and I've said this before, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but maybe I do. It's always been old, fat, white guys like myself sitting around smoking cigars, and it's always been kind of like that club. And things are changing. In 2016, the CDC said that women are the fastest growing demographic in the cigar
and they spend
space.
the most money as well.
Yep. But also, like, the people of color, minority, whatever, like the PC term is for that, they're like, I think they're now the fastest growing demographic in the cigar community. Diversity is here, and it can only be a good thing for the community, right?
Well, I mean, it's like cigars, right? Like we were talking about at the very beginning. Cigars come from everywhere, all over the different wrappers, binders, fillers, all over different places of the world. Why wouldn't people be the same?
Right. So how do you guys do that? Because I know your content is available for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Do you make sure that you're bringing in diversity when you're interviewing people? Because I've seen, or is it just like the luck of the draw? It's just you're not focused on anything other than the product and the community. And
like I said, I take care of myself. Worry about the rest later. If somebody doesn't like what we're doing, they don't have to watch it.
Yeah, you don't have to listen. You don't have to watch. You don't. Have to
we're not like I said, we're not forcing anybody to be a part of us. You don't have to do anything to join us. All we ask is that you support the community as a whole. Maybe buy a patch or a bandana or a hat or something and post you enjoying a cigar, doing what you like to do. Right,
which, by the way, Joe brought me a ton of swag. Like, I don't have a lot of Simply Stogies swag. You can go to simplystogies.com and you can buy some. But I don't ever keep any on hand. But he brought me a patch. He brought me some stickers. He brought me the bandana, which is like, it just looks cool as shit. Like, I'm not a bandana guy. Like, it's like there's different types of cigar smokers, right? So me, I'm the typical old fat white guy in a Hawaiian shirt or a Gaibera and a fucking fedora because it's stupid hat day here at Simply Stogies. And you're the guy, because I wear baseball caps all the time, but you're the guy who comes in in like the shirt and the cap. And you like you said, you're a biker. What bike do you have?
So I have a Honda VTX 1800 cc. She's a fat girl. We'll put it that way. She'll lift the front tire up if I wanted it to.
Oh, geez. Have you done that yet?
On accident, yeah.
Did you?
Not on purpose.
Did you shit your pants when you did?
When the front tire went to the ground again, I did.
So let's talk a little bit more about community, because you are in the process of like starting to think about maybe putting together a mobile cigar lounge.
Yeah,
which is an interesting concept. There's a few in the South that I've seen. Like, tell me about this, because it's a very like we're talking about community, right? And the community, this is a luxury product. We literally, I've said this before, we literally burn money. We roll money up, we light it on fire because we enjoy it. Like, that's what we do. This is the quintessential waste of money. I mean, we get nothing from it except the enjoyment in that moment. It's a very so you've got to have disposable income. Tell me about your vision for this mobile cigar lounge.
So I've seen a bunch of different mobile cigar lounges around the South. And I thought it was super cool to have the ability to smoke at a different setting. And especially up here in the Midwest, where it gets cold like 10 out of 12 months of the year.
Yeah, well, up here, yeah, like 10 out of 12 months. Even in Iowa, it's probably 9 out of 12 months.
Yeah, well, up here we get negative 40, so.
Yeah, we hit negative 35 once. And like when antifreeze freezes,
yeah, that's
cold.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was another thing that kind of sparked me. I'm like, man, it would be really nice. And before, I just bought a new house this spring. But before that, I was renting at a place where you could not smoke inside. A lot of places in Wisconsin, you can't even smoke on property.
Right.
So what is a person that loves smoking cigars supposed to do up here where it gets super cold and you can't smoke inside your own house? Or you have to go walk outside and stand in cold weather and try to enjoy something for an hour or an hour and a half.
It's usually like that's when you get the short ones out. It's like 30 minutes. Like
but even that, it's not enjoyable. You're literally trying to smoke it as fast as you can, which is not cigars.
Not what this is about.
No, absolutely not. You're just this entire culture is so great because it allows you to relax, unwind after maybe a stressful day at work. If you're outside freezing, that's not going to be relaxing.
No, it's not. Like, I have an unfinished garage and I have to put a heater in there and it's mildly comfortable. So like I bought like those snow suits. Like I bought one of those so I'm at least bundled up and warm.
But that becomes a chore.
It is a chore.
That's a chore.
My smoking goes down dramatically in the winter.
It's a chore to do something that you like to do.
Yeah.
Which isn't something that you like to do then.
Right. So what's the concept behind this mobile lounge? Because like the way you explained it to me, it's different than any other mobile lounge that I have seen because it's more concierge. It's more like very tailored for a certain smoking experience. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm only in the very beginning stages of trying to put together everything that I want this to be, how I want it to be, what I need to do to make it happen. But essentially, I want it to be something where somebody can call and schedule a time for me to bring a cigar lounge to them. You have so many different events that happen where it'd be cool to have a cigar lounge there.
Right.
And you can't just pick up the lounge here. You can't pick it up and move it somewhere.
No, and anymore the smoking laws are like you can't smoke within 25 feet of an entrance. You can't
And that's one of the other issues that this type of venture stirs up because Wisconsin has some super, super stringent laws against tobacco. the sale of it, where you can do it, all these sorts of things. So I've had to kind of be creative in what we're going to be doing. But what we're going to be doing, I've talked to a couple different agents of the state that deal with the tobacco laws. And I've asked them questions, and they said, I don't see any problems with that. I don't see any problems with this. You might run into some issues with this. So I'm like, okay, well then figure out a way around it.
How important is it for a Johnny or Jane cigar smoker to be involved in the politics of tobacco and tobacco regulation? Because there's the PCA, which is for guys like me, the members of the media. It's for the retailers. It's for the manufacturers, kind of, where they support the PCA through their membership dues, through going to the trade show, all of that stuff. And then there's the CRA for the consumer, the Cigar Rights of America, kind of like the NRA. Do you find that kind of stuff important? Do you get involved in that way or not?
I think I would like to learn more about that and be maybe a little bit more involved. But I think it's important to figure out the people that know what they're talking about. I just saw a interview with Rocky Patel where he went on Tucker Carlson on Fox, and somebody like him, who, by the way, Wisconsin guy, got to give him a shout out for that. You
damn Badgers.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's a Packer fan too, so I'll take that.
For crying out loud.
But I think somebody like him, where he knows what he's talking about, he lives, breathes this every single day of his life. I think for somebody like him to say it will be a lot more powerful than for somebody like me to say it, I guess.
Yes and no. You have a platform. So your platform allows you to have different people on that are in the know, that can speak to it intelligently and take that to the consumer. Do you feel like you might want to use your platform for that in the future, even if it's just because I talk about it, and I've had when Glenn Loop was the head of the CRA, I had him on a couple of times on the show, and it's always fun to have him on. But the problem that I find with the PCA and the CRA is that it's very federally, like it's a federal focus. It's focused on the feds. It's focused on the FDA. It's focused on getting laws passed and changed in Congress. And while that's great overall, the fight will come down to the state level. I think even the PCA said that this year at their media day. At the PCA, they said it's coming down to the state level. So if it's at the state level, guys like you and I have an opportunity to maybe help consumers, especially in our areas. Like I'm just a state away in Iowa, to kind of like inform them and help them figure out what they need to do, who they need to talk to make sure that, our right to smoke stays.
So I think it's a super complex issue, and I think that if we do our job as the cigar community and we teach and show people the things behind the cigars, how cigars are different from your vapes, your cigarettes, your dollar cigarillos at the gas station. I think if we do that job well enough, I have to imagine that some of these lawmakers are also cigar smokers. I have to imagine somewhere out there.
So Glenn has told me on the last podcast he was on, which I think was close to the end of last year, he had said that these guys go to Congress, they're up there and they're when they're on camera, when what they're saying is going to go on record, it's this, and this, and it's very hard lined. But here's the thing: on either side of the aisle, they're coworkers. At the end of the day, guess what they're doing? They're out with each other. They're having a drink. They're smoking a cigar.
Exactly, and to my point, I think if we do our jobs, well, it's not even a job. If we do the things that we're setting out to do, I think it will take care of itself. Maybe not take care of itself, but it will definitely lend a hand in maybe influencing those lawmakers.
There's that word.
To take a little bit better of a look instead of just lumping everything together. I think, and that's the issue. They're lumping premium hand-rolled 300 hands touching these cigars in with the vapes, the cigarettes. I think the greatest thing that I've ever heard where, I get asked all that, what's the difference between a cigarette and your cigar? Well, one has a filter and one doesn't. Why?
Why? Exactly.
Answer that one question, and I think you figure out the entire issue.
So let me ask you this, because I think this is it's always fun for me to ask other people who are in and around the industry. TPE versus PCA. I've had people tell me that, yes, the cigar industry, because it's so big, we're in the second cigar boom right now. Like, there's a ton of manufacturers. There's always new cigars coming out, new cigar manufacturers, because boutique is a big thing, which we haven't even talked about. But boutique's a big thing, and there's all of these new things coming out, but they say that the industry can support 2 trade shows. But one trade show, the Tobacco Plus Expo, or the Tobacco Products Expo, I don't even remember what it's called. They are CBD, THC, cigarette, vape, and cigars, and they're not doing anything to help cigars, to help the industry. PCA is focused on cigars. It's the Premium Cigar Association. So if the TPE is taking business away, which they absolutely are, from the PCA, if the PCA goes away, what are we left with? Like, do you think the cigar industry should be hanging their hat with the same people that they're trying to separate themselves from politically?
I think any opportunity that you have to educate is a good opportunity. So the spotlight that, things like that will allow you to do, even though they're lumped in with the vapes and CBD and stuff like that, I think it's still a good opportunity. However, putting your eggs in one basket is usually never a good idea in any aspect of life. In stocks, diversify is the key catchphrase all the time, diversify. Why would you put all of your eggs in one basket? Sure, devote some time, some energy, a little bit of effort into that, but I wouldn't say that to hang your hat on it. I don't think that would be a smart move.
Okay, that's a good point. I mean, it gives them more exposure with the TPE, but like I guess as long as they're supporting both,
right? Absolutely, and like I said,
it shouldn't be an either or.
No, absolutely not. I think that if you can diversify, that will be an overall win.
So, what's next for Evil Empire Cigar Society?
I mean, I'm really, really enjoying what we're doing. I get to hang out with my brothers, and we get to hang out with some super cool people. I mean, we got to hang out with you. This is the reason why we're doing this now. I was going to
say, like, super cool people. I was not one of those. I was not one of those at
absolutely.
all.
No, absolutely you were. Having you and Jeff on, I've met so many awesome people that I never would have knew existed from something that I never knew was going to exist.
Right?
How? And every single conversation comes back to a passion and a love for cigars. And I'm just enjoying doing it. I mean, what's next? I don't know. Maybe something I don't know existed.
Nice. I like that answer because you're right. Like, I've been able to talk to people that I never knew existed. I never knew what they did. I never knew the influence or the impact that they had on the culture that you and I are a part of. And so that's why I do this. It's a fantastic thing, and that's why you do what you guys do. And it's like, It's awesome. You guys do a great job. Check them out, Evil Empire Cigar Society. And I will have your Instagram on the show notes. But let's have a little bit of fun before we get out of here.
Sure.
Okay? What's your favorite cigar that you're smoking like right now?
Right now, I would say it's a toss-up between the Undercrown 10.
Which is so good.
It's chocolatey. The flavor is just amazing. And it's got just a lot of different profiles that I absolutely love. It's between that, and I've been really, really hooked on the Esteban Carrera Chupacabra. They just came out with a new 10th anniversary. That is a great cigar. And I've really, really liked all the other. I mean, they have them in a bunch of different wrappers, but just smoked the 10th anniversary, and that's really high up there.
I'm going to have to check that out. I've had one Chupacabra. It was all right. Not really my bag, but I'll check the new one out.
Yeah,
for sure.
The 10th anniversary, they hit that dead on.
Nice. What's your favorite brand? Like, if you had to reach for just one brand, what would it be?
I think it depends on my mood. Because, I mean, I have a couple Tubadors, right? I have one that I just throw a bunch of cigars in, and I kind of just do a grab bag. I'll grab one out of it. Don't even look. I'll grab it. Then there's some times where I'm like, man, I could go for a pledge right now. EP Carrillo. I could go for one of those pledges right now. Or, depending on the time frame that I have, I'll grab something smaller. I'm a really, really big fan of the short stories.
Oh, the short stories are great.
Yeah.
I love the Arturo Fuente Hemingway short story. Just a great cigar anytime, especially if I'm in a hurry, but literally anytime. Like, if I'm not sure what to smoke, like, that's one of the ones I'll pick up.
I mean, for a very small amount of time, and we talked about this before we even started this, the Big Sky Mad Minnow.
Oh, yeah.
Man, that is a punch you in the mouth cigar, and it doesn't take, an hour and a half to smoke.
No.
So if I have a little bit of time and I want a really good cigar, there you go.
Yeah, that was so. When I was in Vegas for the PCA, I went to En Fuego in Henderson, which by now, that lounge review will be up on the website, simplystogies.com. Check that out. Great spot. Like, if you're in Vegas, like, stay away from the strip, go to Henderson, do yourself a favor, go to En Fuego. And the guy, Andy, behind the counter, I think he's the GM of the shop. He gave me a J. London. Like, they're a humidor, like we talked about here at Prime. There's a bunch of boutique in there. That's almost all they had in there. He's like, here, like, you got to try this J. London. And then he's like, you've got to try the Minnow. You've got to try the Minnow. I'm like, I've never even heard of this company, Big Sky Cigar. He's like, try it. Holy cow. Fantastic. Fantastic.
Man, that thing is super good. And it's just a little guy. It's a minnow.
How do you, right, exactly. It is. It took me like a half hour to smoke. It was just so good. So I need to try more from their line. How do you find new cigars? Like, do you just go into your B&M and ask what's new?
Unfortunately, in my area, we only have we only have 2 lounges from Green Bay to Appleton. And that's a half-hour drive. But to go to another lounge, like a sit-down lounge, you have to come all the way here to Milwaukee, which is a hour and a half, hour 45-minute drive. So there's not a lot of opportunity to sit down and enjoy them.
So you're like on an island too.
Absolutely. We're on a cigar island, and my main way to see different cigars is through the community. And, I'll see stuff that Nick Hardash is smoking. I'm like, well, that looks good. And I mean, El Leon Cigars specializes in those boutique brands. I look at what they're doing. Sir Louis Cigars, he always has, different bundles, packs, deals going on for different things to try. So I'll find my, basically the stuff that I want to try just through the community, which is what we're doing.
Yeah. Who do you follow on Instagram that you're like, all right, they're smoking this, I'm going to try it? Like, I know you just mentioned a few, but like, who are your give me like your top 3 people you follow to try new stuff?
Oh, Nick, Hard Ash Cigar Society. Gotta give him a shout out. Mach 1. If you don't follow him, go follow him. Manny, Wicked Cigar Club. Those are the people. Like I said, Elion Cigars. Oh man, I mean, there's so many, and forgive me because there's so many different groups in the community that we follow, that we love talking to. All of them. I mean, it's like I said, it's a community. There's not one person that we're like, okay, he's smoking this, I'm smoking that then too. I'm seeing that same cigar being smoked by 4 other people in the community. There's probably a reason behind it. So that it's not just one person that I'm going to go follow to make sure I try those. If I see it on 4 to 5 different people's, I'm going to go try it.
If you could sit down with one person and have them on your show, who would it be? Like, if there's just one guy that you're like, or one gal, you want to sit down with them, get them on, and have some fun with them for an hour, like, who would it be?
I've actually thought about that. And my mind keeps coming back to Rocky Patel. And I think it's because of the Wisconsin connection. To be completely transparent.
You damn Badgers.
I know.
But he's the guy, like, he's the face of the industry. I'm not a big fan of Rocky Patel cigars. I've said that before. I think the Hamlets are really good. There are some solid sticks in the Rocky Patel lineup, but that guy does so much for the industry as a whole. You're right. Like, to sit down with him and talk with him and get him on and pick his brain, like, that would be fun.
And I think the knowledge that he has too is super important.
Yeah.
And I would just love to pick his brain on some, what goes through his head when it comes to these different brands, when it comes to policy, like law policies, such a wide gambit of different things that he's into. I think it would be super, super cool just to pick his brain and figure out.
Yeah, for sure. Last question. We're going to make it as fun as possible, or I'll make fun of you. It'll be one of the two. How many cigars do you have at home right now in your humidors?
Oh, man.
Because you've been into this, like you said, you really immersed yourself about a year ago. So you had a year to really build up your collection, what you've got, like what you like to smoke, things you want to try. Like, how many do you have?
The issue, I couldn't tell you the exact count. But what I can tell you is the problem that I have is that I continue to smoke them. So as I build that trove of cigars, it also diminishes about the same pace.
So how many are you smoking a day?
Depends. I would say on an average, I would say 2.
Okay.
But there's days where I'll smoke one in the morning, smoke one at lunch,
and smoke one for after dinner.
Well, and smoke one when we go on live.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's days where I smoke 3. I think 3 is probably
Is that the maximum you'll smoke?
Typically.
Because that's typically what I'll do is 3 is the max. Usually it's 2.
Mm-hmm.
But like when we were in Vegas for the PCI, I was smoking 6 or 7 a day.
You're with all of those different brands. You have the opportunity to do it.
At what point for you do you start losing the taste? Is it after 3 and you're like, it's not worth smoking a 4th because I'm not going to get the experience the blender wants?
That, I think, is another aspect that I try to keep in mind, because every time I smoke at least a new cigar that I haven't tried before, I want to get the experience that the maker is trying to give me.
Yeah.
I want to get that experience that it was meant to have. So I want to try and keep it as clean as possible. And I think you're right. Around 3, I think it starts to kind of dull your palate a little.
Unless you're smoking the same thing. Like if you're going to smoke like an Undercrown, like for 4 of your sticks a day, you're probably fine. But like if you're switching up, because that's what I do. I never smoke one thing consistently. I may smoke more of it than others, because others I'm saving for special occasions, or I'm just not in the mood for it, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I have that grab bag chubador. I have a stand-up humidor where I have a little bit higher end cigars.
So 2 humidors. How many do you have? Let's start there. How many humidors do you have?
I have 1 stand-up humidor. I have
Now, when you say stand up, is it like the wine cooler?
Yes, it's that size.
Okay.
It's not a cabinet, but a tubador or not tubador.
It's like a case.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I have about 3 or 4 tubadors. Now I am in the process of making a gun cabinet conversion humidor.
Those are so cool. I wish I had like the woodworking skills to do that. I barely have the skill to podcast, let alone do anything with my hands.
So for me, I don't have that skill. However, I have a lot of friends that do. So I have a lot of resources to pull from. And
I wonder if Jeff.
Oh, I've had conversations about this with Jeff too. I told Jeff, dude, you need to make humidors.
Right?
He says that that's a possibility, I guess, and maybe that's another conversation. But so I have a lot of friends that are really, really handy with that sort of stuff. So I would
love to take like a gun case, a gun cabinet, or an old hutch, and just reinforce it, seal it, season it, and go to town.
I'm handy enough to be dangerous enough to be told what to do, and I can do it.
I'm dangerous enough to be told what to do, fuck it up, and then have to go to the ER. So
well, I don't recommend that then. But so we're teaming up with Cigar Oasis, and we're going to do basically a documentation process of exactly what we're doing. So I'm doing, and this will be on our page, and I've already posted a couple pictures on it. But we're going to document the whole entire process so that if anybody else wants to do something similar, doesn't have to be the same size or whatever, but enough to where if anybody else wants to do something like that, it's a step-by-step process.
That's awesome.
So my issue was I looked for that. I've tried to find that everywhere. I've looked just on the internet.
There are communities where they have forums where people will do that. They're like, this is the step-by-step, and I've seen those. But there's nothing, like you have to join that community and be a part, like that information is just not freely available.
Right. And that was my issue. I'm like, why the hell isn't there something like this just out there? I'm like, well, what if we do it? We'll probably fuck up every once in a while here, so...
You do that, when you put it all together, I'd love to put it on our website.
Oh, absolutely.
And have it there so everybody can see it. So it's on your Instagram page. It's on our website. And we can do this great thing with Evil Empire Cigar Society and Simply Stogies and just have it out for everybody.
Absolutely. And right back to the main focus of what we are trying to do is build the community with knowledge and stuff that maybe they've never been exposed to before. So I wanted to do it because if I'm having this idea, I guarantee you somebody else is.
Absolutely.
And like I said, I can't find that information anywhere. Why not help figure it out for other people?
It's like building a coolador.
Yep. Absolutely.
Like everybody on the forums, they know how to do it, and they share that information with other people on the forums, but there's not really a good resource online. There may be a couple of YouTube videos, but everyone has a
and that's it. I saw a couple of videos. I'm like, they hit half the mark that I'm looking for.
Right.
They go into depth on some of the parts, but leave some of the other really important parts out. So I'm stuck with half a project.
Right.
So I have, like I said, a couple of friends that know what they're doing when it comes to like woodworking and all this other stuff. So they might not know exactly the entire project, but they have a good idea, an understanding of how it should be, maybe.
Right. Yeah, get that information out. And that's what this is all about. It's all about community. It's all about information sharing. And I think you guys do a great job of that at Evil Empire Cigar Society. You guys are just fantastic. Check them out. What do you want people to know about what you guys do? Like, give us like your elevator pitch for what you guys do. Because everybody, I'm telling you, if you're not following them on Instagram, you need to go do that.
So we're just trying to help people, like I said, be exposed to things you might not be exposed to before. Show you some new cigars, show you some new information on building a cabinet transition humidor. Show you some really cool people. I mean, and that's maybe something we didn't really focus on too much was the people, because that is our focus. I mean, we're focused on the community, but we're focused on exposing people to the brand. But first and foremost, we're focused on exposing people to our followers to the people behind those brands.
Yes.
Because you walk into this humidor right now, you see bands upon bands upon bands, right? Other than that, that's all you see. However, if I go talk to a David Blanco and tell you that he was a policeman, an EMT firefighter in the military, and then started his cigar company, it's a much more powerful elevator pitch.
Absolutely.
For a cigar. Or, if I tell you, and we just had Chantel from Belladama Cigars on, one of the kindest, sweetest people I've ever met. If you see that show and see how much of a genuine person she is and how much she actually cares about her brand, that's a lot more powerful than seeing just some random band in the humidor.
Yep. Absolutely. You guys don't make any money doing this. This is a passion project, just like Simply Stogies. We don't make money doing this. Everybody loves a good story. And especially in the cigar community. If the cigar has a good story behind it, people will buy it. And sitting down with a guy like Dean Parsons from Epic Cigars and finding out his story from Canadian hockey player to cop to real estate to cigars, like how he got to cigars was such a roundabout way that he kind of fell into it, and they make fantastic. Like, you're right. Like, it is all about the people, and that's what we like to do here. Highlight the people, highlight the brand, because if you know the person behind the brand, when you smoke that cigar, you have a deeper connection to it. You understand their vision for it. And so I appreciate what you guys do, because it's the same thing that we do here at Simply Stogies. You guys are awesome. Evil Empire Cigar Society. Joe, thank you so much for sitting down. I know it's middle of the day on a Saturday. Like, we're both getting ready to go to the Brew City Cigar Fest. So that'll be a good time. I'm sure I'll see you there. We'll hang out, smoke some cigars.
I do got to give one shout out, though, to actually a couple, if I can.
Yeah, go for it.
So Cigar Thief on Instagram. Go check them out. We get so many of our boxes from them. They have amazing prices on everything. They just had a 4-stick sampler for the Diamond Crowns for like $33.
Oh, wow.
2 of those cigars alone are more than that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if you are not at least following them to see what they're putting out, you're missing out on some really, really good deals. I have to, first and foremost, thank my girlfriend, because, man, so I have, like I said, I have a 6-year-old, and I have him a lot of the time when we're on, and she'll be hanging out with him while I'm on the live. She'll pop on, on her phone. She'll watch the lives while she's hanging out with my son. So, I mean, gotta give her huge props for, kind of sticking beside me doing this too, and putting up with me having to be on for an hour, sometimes hour and a half, while she's, hanging out with my son. So, gotta give her a lot of props. And everybody that follows us right now, we wouldn't be doing it without all the followers, all the other clubs that we hang out with. Like I said, we wouldn't be doing any of the stuff that we're doing right now without the entire community as a whole. So I appreciate every single person that follows us, interacts with us, says, that we're doing a good job. It's much appreciated. So thank you to the entire community.
Because I think that's something that we didn't talk about a whole lot. I think I talked about it with Jeff a little bit, but being a content creator, it's time consuming. Like, let's just forget the money aspect of it. It is time consuming. And so, like, my wife, I've got a 4-year-old at home, right? Like, I travel all the time doing this kind of stuff, lounge reviews and whatnot, and the PCA and cigar events. Like, next weekend, I'm going to the Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest.
Okay.
So she stays home. She hates how much I spend on cigars. She hates it because, so I would guess conservatively, you've probably got 400 or 500 at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got 1,000.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's like you smoke them as fast as you're refilling. Usually it's like a 3 to 1. Like I'll
half
smoke
the time
one,
they put them
buy
in there,
3.
and like I'm smoking them like 3-4 days later, so they don't even sit there long enough.
Oh man, I've got stuff that's been sitting there for years at this point.
Well, yeah, and so like I said, every once in a while, I'm gonna want to do something a little bit more upscale. So I'll reach into the once in a while cigar Tubador.
But that's just it. People don't understand like what goes into creating content. They think you just turn your phone on.
Oh, no,
Somebody
no,
comes
no.
on and like, oh well, let's talk for an hour, and you just like there's so much more that goes into it.
Oh man, so I play softball too, just like co-ed bar league softball. Right?
So full-time job.
Yep.
4-year-old or 6-year-old.
6-year-old. Yep.
Girlfriend.
Yep.
Softball. Poker. Like you're hanging out with your friends.
Motorcycles.
Like how do you find time to do this?
Scheduling. Come up with a good schedule. I mean, that's really and half the time it's, well, they got time to do this. Am I supposed to do it?
Good God. Yeah. Like it's a lot. It's not just turning the camera on, is it?
God, no, it is, there's so much other stuff. Having a good content, is one thing, but then to consistently consistently have good content is another. And you see pages pop up, and then all of a sudden
They die.
radio silence, and they just go away. And I mean, I would like to hope that that's not, in our future. I want to keep doing this as long as I possibly can. So, I mean, I'm just having fun doing it.
That's how you build a fault. The biggest thing. So we also do. I'm part of Creative Brain Candy Network,
Mhm.
where we help creators, figure out how to do podcasts, figure out how to do video, figure out how to create content. And the biggest thing I tell them is it's consistency. If you start putting a product out every week, you have to put it out every week, come hell or high water. You miss a week, a third of your listeners go away. You miss another week, like now you're down to under.
Good luck.
Yeah, like you're done.
Good luck.
So it's hard to be consistent and schedule and all of that. So I appreciate what you guys do. You guys do it at a very high level. You guys are fantastic. You've got to watch their videos. You've got to watch
Appreciate
their
it, brother.
online stuff. Evil Empire Cigar Society. It's Evil Empire with a 3 at the beginning. Cigar Society with a 5 at the beginning of Society on Instagram. It'll be down in the show notes. Check it out. Great guys. Joe, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me on, man.
And join me next time, where I'm not quite sure what I'll be talking about, but I promise it'll be Simply Stogies. Stay smoky, friends.
Thank you for listening to Simply Stogies. Please rate and review Simply Stogies on iTunes. You can follow James on his cigar journey on Instagram at Simply Stogies Podcast, all one word, and on Twitter at the Twitter handle at Simply Stogies.